Alright guys, I think this will be my last video. My exit interview from the Democratic Party. Alright, so I was going to answer the question about the DEI thing, like my perspective on that video. But you know what? The prize conversation I got today was really cool in my DM. It's funny, in my DMs, I haven't responded to everyone. So if you wrote to me, I haven't written back, that's why. But I'm getting more people in my DMs that are conservative or Republican, or I don't know what they are, but they are also devastated by Charlie Kirk's death. And so one of the conversations I've had in my private messages is with the man who I exchanged, we just had a discussion on racism, and it really felt refreshing to be able to exchange perspectives without feeling like you're about to be judged. And his perspective was amazing. I was one of the people that, if I heard Charlie Kirk say there's no racism, I just don't find that cold. I'm not worried about racism now. That's my experience. And so I wouldn't have gotten offended by that. But he shared his experience with me, and my jaw was dropped. He is around my age, and he's from the South, very, very South, and he told me one of his experiences meeting a KKK member dressed up in his KKK robe or whatever. And his mom was, told him when he was a kid, he was like, I want you to just look that guy straight in his eyes. My jaw was dropped as I was listening to this guy's voice note. And he said it was such calm and clasped. He was sharing his memory as a kid looking at this guy. And then another experience he shared is he graduated in the year 2000. In his school, they had 2 proms. One prom was for everyone, and one prom was just for white people. So I was just shocked listening to him. And this guy said, I agree with a lot of things Charlie Kirk said. Not everything, but he's like one of the things I don't agree with is that Charlie Kirk didn't believe that there was systemic racism. He said there is. And I'll be honest, I'm instantly willing to listen. Prior to talking to this guy, I had just reached a point that I was doubting everything. Other than my direct experience, I doubted everything from the left. Systemic racism, whatever, everything. So all it took was this guy to come in with proper dialogue for me to listen and be open to hearing that there was systemic racism. And this guy's Republican, and he's Black, and he's experienced that kind of racism and witnessed that kind of racism. So he also said he would not want anyone thinking that he got hired just because of DEI. I don't know all his views, but isn't it crazy that someone like him wouldn't feel comfortable sharing his comments in a public forum? A Black conservative who liked Charlie Kirk, how would they respond to him? Especially given his testimony that he shared with me. I wonder if Charlie Kirk met this guy, and I wonder if Charlie Kirk might have seen things differently. I don't know. I know that as far as the DEI, I didn't know anything about it until this video. I did know about affirmative action, and I will admit that I was one of those people who would assume that anybody who disagrees with affirmative action is likely racist. That's what I used to think. And when you hear my perspective of what it was, you probably have thought the same thing. However, now listening to Charlie Kirk, whether or not I agree with him, I now don't think that people who question affirmative action are racist. And here's why. Had he heard my perspective, I can't help but wonder if he would have changed his wording, maybe. And this is why I say it's so important to feel comfortable having dialogue without feeling like you're going to get labeled. So yes, here's my perspective. So I used to think, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but I genuinely used to think that affirmative action required excellence first. Like, so you can't get in unless you meet the requirement of excellence. And then diversity is focused on. So I never thought that you can take anyone's place. This way, maybe because I'm Nigerian, we strive for excellence, Nigerians. So put us where we gotta be, we're gonna strive for excellence. And my father was like that. He got a scholarship to go to Hungary for school in chemical engineering, and they gave him a year to learn Hungarian, because back then there was no English program, so you had to study Hungarian for the year, and then the next year you join the rest of the fluent speakers and you study in the language. That's it. This was not abnormal. A lot of my childhood friends that were biracial, their fathers went to their respective countries, Italy, Russia, Germany, whatever, and they studied that language for the year and then followed with their program. Their baseline was excellence. That was it. So that was my understanding of what affirmative action was. I thought it was similar to that. And then another experience I've had with affirmative action was with different family members. So, for example, my husband, his med school was the hardest med school to enter in the country. And I know this because when I first started dating him, my older siblings are physicians and they're Nigerian. So they were like, this man, he entered this school. This school is the hardest school to enter. Harder than Harvard. Yes, it was harder than Harvard to get accepted to that school. The requirements were so high. There was no wiggle room. So you had to have the minimum scores to get in was excellence, period. And so he was the only African American. Mother and father are African American, only one in his class. There was another African American, but he was biracial. And then the rest of the black people in his class were Nigerian, were African and mostly Nigerian. So, but yeah. So I just always assumed that whatever minority, whatever black person that enters a university, they were excellent. That's never been a question of mine. But if I find out that other things are factored and they do lower the standards, I do understand. Then I would understand someone like Charlie Kirk's perspective, and I understand, and I think it should be looked at. But because I know, for example, my husband is very intelligent, and I have absolutely no doubt that black people are excellent. They will meet the requirements above average. They will kill it. What? Man, I don't have any doubt, period. And I will say that my husband is super smart. And yeah, it would suck. It would really suck if someone thought he took someone's place, because it's not true. He's very smart, and I'm not just saying that because I'm his wife. Like, I really mean that. He's a genius. And so yeah, I agree. I would say let's rearrange, let's make the affirmative action, let's make sure that excellence is required first prior to diversity. And I don't think there will be any shortage of black people. Man, black people will excel. Does anyone doubt that? Look at Barack Obama. Did he become president because of affirmative action? He got there fair and square, and he got voted into office. Fair and square. It wasn't affirmative action.
On my mac and cheese.
Okay, if he heard my perspective, would he have changed his wording? What would have changed if people talked to him without accusing him of racism? What would have happened? We'll never know.